Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, we're going to be doing a 12-team PPR mock draft from the 12th overall spot using FantasyPros Draft Wizard. The roster positions for today's mock are going to be 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, a tight end, flex, kicker, defense, and 6 bench spots. We'll be drafting up against the expert consensus rankings on Fantasy Pros. Now, once they end up releasing the NFL ADP, the Sleeper ADP, Yahoo, ESPN, CBS, we will be drafting up against those as well. But as of right now, we're just drafting up against the expert consensus rankings because that is what is available to us. If you are new to the channel, please make sure you guys do hit that subscribe button down below. And while you're down there, whether you are new to the channel or not, please make sure that you leave a like on today's video. So let's get into this mock draft. Now, the first pick of this draft was Jamar Chase. After Jamar Chase, it is Bijan Robinson, Saquon Barkley, Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, Jahmyr Gibbs, Puka Nacua, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Malik Neighbors, Brian Thomas Jr., and Nico Collins. Now, the main point of contention inside of the early first round right now is Saquon Barkley. It seems like a lot of people are starting to fall off on Saquon Barkley. They are starting to worry about the amount of touches that he saw last season. They are worried about the Madden curse, and they are panicking. They are scared of Saquon Barkley. So Saquon Barkley might be on a free fall in drafts right now. I did do a mock draft before I ended up turning the recording on just to make sure everything was working correctly, make sure all the sounds were working well, that you guys could hear me. And Saquon Barkley did fall deeper into drafts that I was used to, but here he goes at the 103. So I think you could see him in drafts go anywhere right now from the 101 all the way to the 108, the 109. And at that point, someone's going to be like, you know what? Even if I'm worried about the amount of touches he's received, I just got to pick him at that point. So through the first 11 picks, it is 3 running backs. The rest were wide receivers, which I feel like is going to be pretty much close to the normal this year. Now, maybe in your league, you see more running backs than that because your league is more old school, more running back heavy, but it seems like a lot of people over the last couple of years have kind of turned the page and been more wide receiver heavy early on. I would say the normal is probably 3 to 5 running backs through the first 11 picks, depending how confident your league mates are in 1, Ashton Genty, and 2, in Christian McCaffrey. So looking at the board right now, all the quarterbacks, all the tight ends are available. Inside the first round this season, you do not need to take a quarterback or a tight end. Basically, that was the case every year, but last year, if you really wanted Kelsey, you had to pull a trigger in the first round. That will not be the case this season. So at running back, at wide receiver here, best running back available is Ashton Genty, Devon Achane, Christian McCaffrey, Derrick Henry, and Bucky Irving. In terms of wide receivers, Drake London, A.J. Brown, Lad McConkey, JSN, T. Higgins, Garrett Wilson. So for me, based on the amount of wide receivers that have went in the first round so far, I honestly think the move here would be to double tap the running back position. Now, I don't go into my draft thinking that I need to draft 2 running backs off the rip. I don't come in thinking I need 1 running back, 1 wide receiver. I just wait to see how the draft falls to me. And in this case, with there only being 3 running backs selected ahead of me, I believe the smartest decision here is to double tap the running back position and have the best running back duo potentially in this fantasy league. So in my opinion, you could go with any combo of Ashton Genty, Devon Achane, and Christian McCaffrey here. If you want to minimize the most amount of risk, you would take Genty and Achane, in my opinion. If you're a little bit more risky, maybe you go Genty and McCaffrey. We will go with Genty here. And since we have taken Christian McCaffrey in the last couple of mocks, because his ADP to me is just crazy that he goes in the second round, right? This is a guy that I feel as though come late August, early September, might end up being a middle of the first round pick. Now, I don't think he could creep into like the top 4 or the top 5 because people will just be too nervous to pay that price, but I do think he could go around the 107, the 108 in that kind of range. So we're going to go ahead and go with Ashton Genty and Devon Achane here, though. I am not scared of Ashton Genty one bit. I strongly believe that this guy is a freak talent, a freak athlete. We saw what he did at Boise State, and I get, oh, Nick, that wasn't up against the greatest competition. It really doesn't matter when you're running for so many yards every single game. The guy has pass-catching ability. You know, Pete Carroll, after that mishap of not handing the ball off to Marshawn Lynch on the goal line, we know that motherfucker motherfucker wants to run the ball gently down the stream, Ashton Jeanty is an absolute monster of a man. The guy is going to put defenses into the figure four game in and game out. And even if you don't think the Raiders are going to be all that elite for an offense, which is probably every single person watching today's video, I do believe they probably finished close to middle of the league in terms of offense. And anything is better than the offense that we saw last year. And the running back room in Las Vegas is just very clearly Ashton Jeanty's. We know he's going to be the bell cow back. We know he's going to see a shit ton of carries game in and game out, a bunch of receiving opportunities. So I feel very confident in Ashton Jeanty. And again, if you wanted to go with McCaffrey, that's fine. I love Christian McCaffrey. But again, if I was treating this like a real draft, and I'm treating all these mock drafts like real drafts, if I took Christian McCaffrey over the last two drafts, for instance, maybe we did, maybe we didn't. I think we did. We did at least take him in the last one. I would want to diversify and take a different running back because even if I really believe in Christian McCaffrey, if the guy is more hurt than we are set on to believe, or if he does just end up getting hurt in the middle of the season, knock on wood, root for injuries here, then you're sinking multiple battleships, whereas here we can just get Achane, a guy who I'm very confident in. Achane's numbers with Tua Tagovailoa, this guy was looking like a clear top 3 running back in fantasy football, with being on a warpath to becoming the running back 1. This is an offense that loves to utilize Devon Achane. I get that the offensive line isn't amazing, and as a Dolphins fan, it really does frustrate me that they don't invest even more heavily into the offensive line, considering our quarterback is made out of fucking glass. But ultimately, if Tua is able to stay healthy this season, as the offensive line's playing a little bit better, Achane really has a clear path to being the running back 1. Like, it would not be all that crazy at all if Ashton Jeanty was the running back 1 and Devon Achane was the running back 2. So after Achane, Drizzy, Drake London, AJ Brown, Ladd McConkey, Kyren Williams all the way in the second round. That is an absolutely atrocious pick. I don't hate Kyren Williams. I even kind of don't mind him in the third round. He's super touchdown dependent, but that's an offense that is going to be lethal like the weapon because of the fact that they have Devontae Adams. They have, sure, they got rid of Cooper Kupp, but they have Puka Nacua. They have a great quarterback in Matthew Stafford. They have Sean McVay. I like that offense, but taking Kyren being so touchdown dependent, even though he lives in the end zone, it's really gross in the second round, in my opinion, especially taking like taking Kyren over McCaffrey, Henry, Bucky, Jacobs, Chase Brown. It really feels wrong, in my opinion. So after Kyren, JSN, Christian McCaffrey, Steele in the middle of the second round, Garrett Wilson, Brock Bowers, Tyreek the Freak Hill, Derrick Henry, Bucky Irving, Trey McBride, Josh Jacobs, Higgins, Josh Allen, Chase Brown, Devontae Adams, Lamar Jackson, Terry McLaurin, Alvin Kamara, Jaden Daniels, Breece Hall. I do really believe this year, if you want one of those big 3 quarterbacks, you probably have to pull the trigger at the start of the third round, because they're all going to be gone by the end of the third round in most leagues. Now, this player right here with Jefferson, Bowers, Josh Allen, you could have the wide receiver 1, the tight end 1, the quarterback 1. Some people might like that, but to me, this is a guy who's running, or girl, or robot, whatever the fuck you want to call him, drafting up against the AI, the Silent Hill. That is a team that really scares me to do. I don't think I have the cojones to go for the fucking rainbow start, the green, the pink, the purple, or the red. It just really scares me. Not having a running back is fine, right? If you go double wide receiver, triple wide receiver, but when you invest in the quarterback and the tight end that early, to me, it just feels gross. I don't know about anyone else, but to me, that feels a little bit disgusting. So we are back up on the clock here at the 3.12, the 36th overall pick. We got Jeanty and Devon Achane. Devon 2 chains through the first 2 picks. So looking at the best players available, all the quarterbacks outside the big 3 are available. Trey McBride and Brock Bowers are gone, but we got every tight end. Looking at running back, this is where the range does start to get a little bit more dicey. Jonathan Taylor really didn't do much last season. Jonathan Taylor won me my league because he absolutely kicked the ever-living shit out of teams in the final 4 weeks of the season. Yeah, he did. But man, oh man, was that gross. That was a very, very gross season. He ripped off 3 great games to end the year. Congratulations if you won your league because of him. That was not the best season out of Jonathan Taylor. I'm a little bit scared. We did draft 2 running backs early, though, so we can avoid this range. James Cook, There is the contract situation. It doesn't seem to be all that big of a deal, though. He did report to Bills minicamp. What really concerns me is the fact that he scored 7,000 fucking touchdowns last season, and I just don't really see that happening again. 16 rushing touchdowns, 2 receiving touchdowns, with Josh Allen being there. I don't really think that's a very likely scenario. Kenneth Walker scares me in Seattle because really, I just don't believe in Kenneth Walker. I like Joe Mixon. Chubb being there does hurt him a little bit. I like Chuba Hubbard, but in the third round, beginning of the fourth, I don't really want to be taking Chuba Hubbard in that range. So we are going to be looking wide receiver. I think starting triple running back in big 2025 is just a little bit too rich for my blood, in my opinion. So looking at wide receiver, to me, if we knew nothing was going to happen with Rashee Rice, right? We knew he was 100% healthy. Then there's no suspension, right? There hasn't been any words as of late about the suspension. There's no suspension, and he's good to go. And I'm talking about actually good to go. Not like Christian McCaffrey last year where, oh, he's good to go. But in reality, the motherfucker is not even remotely ready to go. I'm talking about ready to roll, ready to roll, ready to roll. Stu Feiner. Then we're talking about Rashee Rice as an absolute banger pick inside the third round. Now, for some people, they might say, Nick, you're doing this mock draft in June. I would personally avoid the risk. For me, I'm going to take the risk because I believe that his ADP is going to start soaring. It's going to start flying like Troy Bolton in High School Musical. People are going to get higher and higher on him. I'm starting to get a little bit more inclined to fall back in love with DJ Moore again. Now, why is that? Because I keep seeing all these tweets from Nick Arcolano of bdge where he shows like this range at wide receiver and where they are projected in terms of the receiving yards on the sports books. And DJ Moore is actually projected to have a really, really good season in terms of the yards. I've always been a DJ Moore truther. I was a truther when he was in Carolina. I've been a truther when he's been in Chicago. He gets paid the big bucks last year in the offseason, and it is really, 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 really bad. Like, it wasn't a terrible season, right? But it definitely was not what I thought it would be. Caleb Williams wasn't as good as I thought. The offense wasn't as good as I thought. But DJ Moore really does have that crazy big upside if Ben Johnson really brings it, right? If this is an offense that completely transforms into one of the best in the NFL, they made a lot of change to the offensive line to make them better. And I'm not going to sit here and fucking choke on the cock of Caleb Williams and Ben Johnson. But what I will tell you is I do think things are going to be a whole lot better this season. Mike Evans, to me, feels kind of like the safe bet. You just know what you're getting out of Mike Evans. You're getting 1,000+ yards. He's done that every single fucking season the guy's been in the NFL. Over 1,000 yards every single year. He just barely got it, just the tip last season. But hey, it still counts. He scored over 10 touchdowns in a bunch of seasons. I mean, the guy, just know what he's going to be. He's going to be a top 18 wide receiver every single year. Take it or leave it. So if you're looking for the safer pick, you go Mike Evans. More upside, in my opinion, kind of lies with DJ Moore because I think Mike Evans isn't as safe week in and week out as a guy like DJ Moore could be, but the upside is obviously huge with him. We shall see what happens with Chris Godwin, how healthy he is. I do think that does kind of affect the projection of Mike Evans, but since we haven't drafted Mike Evans much, we will go ahead and select him. He does feel like the kind of cozy click right there, the super safe pick at the wide receiver position. And Mike Evans, I mean, this is just a guy that's put up crazy numbers, whether it's Jameis Winston, it's Tom Brady, it's Baker. Like, it could be me or you out there, and the guy would still be just absolutely all over defenses. The guy's phenomenal. George Kittle. Courtland Sutton's a guy I've started to somewhat sour on. I almost wanted to include him in the video that I made on Thursday regarding guys that I'm not going to draft. I'm not ready to completely go that way yet, but I am starting to lean that way because, Evan Ingram's there now. I do think they're going to try to run the ball a lot more this season, have more competitive pieces at the wide receiver position compared to last year, even if it's just slightly more competitive. Courtland Sutton's never really been a guy that has been, he doesn't jump off the screen to you. He's just been good. I have been a fan of him for a while. I have talked him up. I always said he was better than Jerry Jeudy, and that probably is still the case. But Courtland Sutton, I'm a little bit more nervous than some people. After Courtland Sutton, Jalen, stop, it hurts. James Cook, Jonathan Taylor, Kenneth Walker III, James Conner, Wiki, DJ Moore, TJ Hawkinson, DK Metcalf. Joe Mixon, the fifth opens with Maserati Marv, Zay Flowers, Chuba Hubbard, Ron Jones Sr., Xavier Worthy, Devontae Smith, Chris Godwin, Jerry Jeudy, Jameson Williams, David Montgomery, and Tet McMillan. Talked about Marvin Harrison in a video a couple of days ago. I am starting to really like Marvin Harrison. Nick, you liked Marvin Harrison last year, and you're still walking with a limp because of how that guy fucked you over last season. I know. He curb stomped my ass last year, but I don't know, man. I still believe in the talent there. I love Ted McMillan there at the end of the 5th round. So looking at the best players available at running back would be Omarion, Chris Breezy, Hampton, Tony Pollard, DeAndre Swift, Isaiah Pacheco, Travion Henderson, R.J. Harvey, Chris Olave, Jalen Waddle away, Waddle at receiver, George Pickens, Addison, Travis Hunter. Now, R.J. Harvey's ADP is going to be very interesting. How much do people panic after they add J.K. Dobbins? Now, J.K. Dobbins is not necessarily like a family-friendly name, right? Not everyone knows, not, your uncle who you're playing fantasy with, your aunt, your fucking coworker, Janice, maybe they don't know exactly J.K. Dobbins, but, J.K. Dobbins is like a popular name in fantasy. Like, people know that actually play fantasy, actually give a fuck about fantasy, who J.K. Dobbins is. Some people might really think J.K. Dobbins is going to really rip this job and steal it away from RJ Harvey. Now, maybe it just leads to a slower start for Harvey, but I do think Harvey does have that league-winning upside regardless. Looking at the running back position here, I mean, we have a lot of tight ends available, a lot of quarterbacks. I do really like Joe Burrow this season, but with the fact that we do have more of a question mark with Rashee Rice, I do definitely want to get at least one wide receiver with this pick. So first, we're going to go with a running back. And while I don't typically honestly, if you draft 2 running backs the first 2 rounds, you don't need to attach another running back until much later, in my opinion, because you're really just putting all the eggs into the basket of, hey, Ashton Genty and Devon Achane are going to absolutely put belt to ass this season. They are going to carry my fantasy football team to the promised land. But I really do believe that on the Chargers with Harbaugh, Hampton has the upside to be a league winner. He has the upside to be a top 5, top 8, top 12 level running back that you can get in the 5th round, which in my opinion is just too good to pass up on. I don't think Omarion Hampton is necessarily a guy, as of right now, I wouldn't tell you that I'm fully comfortable starting him in week 1 inside of my lineup, right? I wouldn't lock him in as a must start in week 1. I think we're to see a little bit of Najee, a little bit slow roll of Hampton, but I think once things start to actually matter as you get into the middle, the meats, the bones of the season, as you get deeper and deeper, as you get into the playoffs, that's when Hampton's really going to take flight, start soaring and having those big games. So Omarion Hampton to me is a guy that I am all over. Pause. I really do like Omarion Hampton. And then I kind of think, while I do like Joe Burrow, and I do think Joe Burrow could easily pay off just in such a big way like he did last season, because they don't have a defense. They still have this loaded offense, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins. They've got Chase Brown. They got Mike Gesicki. They have some other pieces at wide receiver, but obviously Jamar Chase, T. Higgins are the big ticket items. I think with Rashee Rice on the team right now with so many question marks, you just kind of have to go wide receiver here. And plus the fact is, to be honest, like we just said, I don't know if I want to go into week 1 right now being like, oh, Hampton's got to be in my lineup, because again, I think that they're going to go with Najee Harris. I might have said J.K. Dobbins before. I meant to say Najee Harris. I think I said Najee Harris, but you never know. You get all fucking messed up. You're saying a million different names, right? There's really no cuts in this video, but in my opinion, I do think Najee might get the lean early on, and then you kind of start to see the transition directly to Hampton. And then once he takes the reins like Santa Claus with the reindeer, I think we're going to see a great season out of Hampton. And this is the type of team that right now, I mean, if you could fast forward to August and this was my start of my draft, Genty, Achane, Rice, Evans, Hampton, of course, knock on wood, they're all healthy by then, I would be absolutely bricked up under my desk. My desk would literally move from how rock hard I was. It would push up and the fucking camera would fall off the top of my monitor. Again, we could also go tight end, but I kind of do think that we do want to start hammering in on some other wide receivers. I don't like Olave, not because I think Olave is bad, but because I just don't trust the quarterback position worth shit. I'm not too sure if I trust the new head coach. And to me, it's like Olave's been a guy that's gotten banged up in the past. He's a guy that suffered multiple concussions last year. Who knows how much that could affect his availability this season? I don't know, man. I don't know. I think Olave's good. I liked him a lot out of college. Jalen Waddle, it's like, if Janu and Tyreek are still there and Achane, I really don't see a strong path towards Jalen Waddle really smashing. Now, as your flex option, your wide receiver 3, he has a lot of upside. Same thing with Pickens. There's a lot of talk about how Pickens has been working with the offense. Jordan Addison, I really think could end up having a pretty big season as well, as long as JJ McCarthy really locks in. This is the kind of guy with top 3 upside we saw multiple times last season, and maybe this year is the year where he kind of turns the leaf and is a lot more consistent. Travis Hunter's interesting as well, but for me, it's like unless, that injury to Brian Thomas Jr. is super severe, which I don't believe it is based on everything that I've read. I don't love Travis Hunter here in like a redraft league. So we're going to go Jordan Addison Ray this time. They might say, oh, that was a reach, but I didn't really want to go with another running back. I think going 4 running backs off the rip is just third. And I don't love going tight end in that range, again, because we are kind of worried about Rashee Rice as of right now. Again, I'm not panicking, but if I was doing my actual draft, again, we're treating this like it's a real draft, I would want a backup plan. After Jordan Addison Ray, Joe Shiesty, Sam Laporta, Tony Pollard, Travis Kelce, RJ Harvey, Evan Ingram, David the Chief Njoku, Chris Olave, George Pickens, Baker Mayfield, Jalen Waddle away, Waddle. Till the very next day, Pat Mahomes, Juwan Jennings, Jared Goff, Caleb Johnson, Justin Fields, Bo Nix, Roma Dunze, Checo, Swift, Henderson, Judkins. Wow, a lot of quarterbacks, a lot of tight ends off the board. Best quarterback available, Kyler, Dak, Justin Herbert, Caleb Purdy, tight end, Janu, Mark Andrews. This is kind of the range at tight end where I want to believe in Janu Smith again. I'm just a little bit cautious right now, knowing that like with the trade situation, I think here I would probably go and continue hammering the wide receiver position. Because again, like with Evans and Godwin, all this stuff, like they've got a Agbuka as well. Again, I like my wide receiver core, but I do think, again, with the question of can Hampton really be a flex early on, I think we want to start hammering out the wide receiver position. Janu's fine for me in the 7th or the 8th round, assuming that he stays with the Dolphins. They did look to get him incredibly involved. Was last season. Fugazi really is kind of the question, because if you look at his whole career, last year is just so much different. It's so much better. There is just nothing that looks even close to that level of consistency, except for the fact that he was kind of just consistently shit back in the day, right? He was just never really good when he was in Tennessee. He never really had any type of pop-off like this. He was amazing. He did not report to Dolphins minicamp, so, there's a lot of questions there. So we're going to go ahead and just go with the wide receiver. We're going to go with Calvin Ridley. I like Calvin Ridley a ton this season. I've been a Calvin Ridley truther in the past, back in Atlanta when he initially went to the Jaguars. Last year was a disaster for him because of the fact that the quarterback play was just really that bad. We did see some big games, like week 2 up against the Jets, wide receiver 6, wide receiver 5 up against Detroit in Detroit, up against the Chargers in LA, wide receiver 3, but those were very far and few in between, right? But I do believe that Cam Ward brings a big level of consistency to this offense, and I also believe that Calvin Ridley is really the only wide receiver of note there. I mean, what are you going to say? Draft Tyler Lockett? Fuck no, baby. So we're going to go ahead and go with him. And then this is where I would potentially take a quarterback. But again, I'm not super mega in love with Kyler. I want to be, because I have been in the past. Last year, he just didn't look like the guy that we have come accustomed to. Justin Herbert, I don't want anything to really do with as like a top 12 quarterback. I'm more interested in like Brock Purdy or Dickie Dak Prescott. So I think we can wait at the quarterback positions. The question here is, do we go Hunter in the 8th round? I feel like he's not going to be available in the 8th round of a lot of leagues just because he won the Heisman. And even if you don't love the projection of Travis Hunter, he's just a name that jumps off of your screen. It's like when you go up to the draft board, maybe you're doing a at-home draft or you're at the bar, you're looking at the board and someone puts Hunter on the board. It's like, whoa, I know that. Everyone knows that guy. Everyone knows what he did with Deion Primetime in Colorado, right? So he's kind of a needle mover, I do like Travis Hunter. I think he's really skilled. In the 8th round, I think this is kind of too good of a price to not just take the YOLO risk on. So that's what we're going to do. If I knew Janu was 100% staying in Miami, I would 100% click Janu Smith. But he could go to a team with another tight end. He could go to a team that I don't trust as much. So we're just going to go ahead and go with Travis Hunter here. And the odds are probably Janu Smith goes, but if Janu Smith's still available in the 9th round, you just have to click him at that price, right? That is just such a great value for a guy that was, like, if you had him, there's a lot of tight ends where you have him and you're like, oh shit, I got to start this tight end this week. Like, wow, what's it going to be? I have think of a random name off the top of my head, like, oh, I have Tucker Kraft. I wonder what's going to happen, or Jake Ferguson. But when you have Janu last year, you're like, oh, I got Janu. I got a real fucking tight end on my team. So that did feel good, pause, and I hope that he's able to repeat that in Miami as a Dolphins fan. But again, there's rumors of trades. Rodgers signs with the Steelers. Maybe that is what moves that to actually occur. After Travis Hunter, Jalen Warren, B-Rob, Michael Pittman, Tyrone Tracy, Brandon Ayuk, Stephon Diggs, Travis Etienne, Najee Harris. You might just get hit with Rico McMillan, Dowdle, Khalil, Shakira. I'm a scat man, Cam Scatabo, Pop Billy Pop, Tank Bigsby, Jacoby Myers, Ramondre Stevenson, Tajay Spears, Jordan, the numbers Mason. What do they mean? Ricky Bullets, Ricky Pearsall, Ricky 50 Cent, Debo Samuel, Jaden, Riley Reed, Javonte Williams, Zach Charbonnet, and Bashal Newton. Now we have to take Janu Smith. We just have to. Nick, Janu Smith will never be available in the 9th round. Okay, then just imagine that's Tucker Kraft. You know, I did kind of shit talk Tucker Kraft a little bit, but I do think Tucker Kraft could end up having a much more consistent season this year. We saw a lot of the upside last year, but there wasn't really a consistent amount of targets going his way. Like, they really don't have a fucking wide receiver one. We talk about this a lot, but, you know, Matthew Golden, they got Jaden Reed. They have these other pieces, but none of those guys are truly the wide receiver one. So maybe Tucker Kraft could finagle his way into a much safer target share, a much more reliable target share this season. So at this point, we've held down our quarterback for a while. Basically, everyone has a quarterback besides us. Just Joe Pesapia doesn't have one, even though it's not actually him. Actually, just a robot drafting like him. Beep, boop, bop. Mr. Roboto. So we're not going to go quarterback here. Kyler would be fine at this pick because, again, you're just taking the falling value. We don't need another tight end. We're just saying Janu's gonna explode again. And if Janu ends up sucking donkey cock, we'll just pick up someone later. We have so many wide receivers. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We only have 3 running backs, and we're starting to get to the range. We already are in the range where the running back position is plug your nose disgusting. I like Rachaad White a decent amount, not because I think Rachaad White really is this phenomenal type of guy, and I don't think he's even going to get a phenomenal type of usage because Bucky Irving really has taken the baton as the lead back on the team. But, and this is a big but, shout out to Sophia Rain, in my opinion, with Rachaad White, if Bucky gets hurt, no one wants to see Bucky get hurt. Everyone loves fucking chortling on the nutsack of Bucky Irving, so we'll knock on wood for that. If he does get hurt, we have seen big games out of Rachaad White before. I know everyone loves to talk about the other fucking running back who's on the team, whose name is escaping me right now. I can just see it in my mind. I can't find him for some reason. He's definitely on the screen right now. People will be like, Nick, you idiot, how do you not see him? And Sean Tucker. Now, Sean Tucker, low-key, Sean Tucker the fucker, low-key pretty good, but I do really believe the backfield will be given to Rachaad White if something was to happen to Bucky Irving. And we've seen Rachaad White play well in the past, so I think he's a fine RB4 for most teams, more in the RB5 range. But we invested such heavy draft capital into the running back position that he's a fine running back for. We probably want to get another running back and then go the rest with a wide receiver for our last spot. And then we also need a quarterback. Again, at this point, Kyler could be the click for me. I do have Brock Purdy ranked higher. Now, Brock Purdy doesn't have the same rushing upside as Kyler Murray, and I'm actually probably one of the most anti-strength of schedule guys there is. And what I mean by that is when the strength of schedule comes out in May, and it's like, oh, this team is the best strength of schedule. Frankly, who gives a fuck? Because 4 weeks into the season, that strength of schedule has been jumbled all around. Some teams that you expected to be terrible are great. Some teams that you think are great, 3 of the guys are fucking sleeping with the fishes. They're not playing. So then it changes everything around, right? So to me, strength of schedule is a bit fugaz. I do love their schedule, though. I love Brock Purdy. I've been a fan of him for a while. Last year wasn't necessarily the best. He did lose Debo Samuel, but to me, he still has a solid amount of weapons. He's going to dump the ball off a ton to Christian McCaffrey. I would rather have Brock Purdy over Kyler Murray. And if you're drafting Brock Purdy and you're like, Nick, I want to draft a second quarterback because I don't feel as confident, that's fine. If I was to go with the second one, it would probably be Kyler if he was just available. But in a normal draft, you're probably looking at the Dak Prescott, the Drake May, the Matthew Stafford, Bryce Young type of guys, or maybe Michael Penix if you're looking for a little bit of upside, west side. Okay. Something wrong with me, man. I recorded a video earlier today, which is the video watched on Thursday. I got to record a video to get out on Saturday, so that's what I'm doing now. I'm getting a little bit more delirious H2O. So I'm not a 2-quarterback guy unless it's a 2-quarterback league. I just don't find myself ever, because you know what's going to happen? You draft Brock Purdy and draft Kyler Murray every single week. You are just going to be sitting there thinking, holy shit, who do I pick? Who do I play? Who do I play? Okay. And then you close your eyes, you're thinking, Brock Purdy. And you play Brock Purdy, and then Kyler Murray's on top of the world. And you're like, okay, you know what? We're going to switch it, right? We're going to go from missionary to fucking cowgirl, missionary to doggy. You're like, I got it. That's the answer. That's what's going to work. It's going to work, right? You switch it, and then Brock Purdy ends up hitting back shots like Johnny Sins, right, on the defense. And you're like, oh, it's Brock Purdy time, baby. You throw Brock Purdy out there, and then Kyler Murray is slanging cock, right? He's going crazy. And you're like, you're going to be pulling out your hair. You're going to go to sleep. You're going to have nightmares like you're on Elm Street, okay? I am not taking 2-quarterback. I just don't like doing it. I don't like doing it. It's a mental thing. It's gross. Speaking of Jaden Blue's cousin, Bonnie Blue, allegedly banned from the OF. Get banned from that shit, right? She's taken a whole fucking, you wrap around the world the amount of meat she's taken. It goes around the earth a couple times. Okay. We're going to take another running back here, and then we're going to close things out with a wide receiver. And we are going to go ahead and, actually, do we want to go wide receiver first? Because I don't think anyone's going to be taking my boy 9-inch Nicholas Chubb. I know Nick Chubb's washed, whatever, bro. With my fucking last pick, I'm going to take him, and we'll see what happens in the offseason. We'll know how washed he really is. Like Jaden Bonnie Blue could end up being a steal if he becomes the RB1, even though I don't think he will be. In this range, I think you're kind of just shooting for the moon. And I'm going to go Trey Harris. Could be the wide receiver 2 in LA. Again, this is like perfect, right? Trey Hendrickson lands in a near perfect depth chart situation. I agree. I think he should become the number 2 in terms of targets behind Ladd McConkey. So, for that reason alone, in offense with Herbert, I feel like you want to take that shot. I don't love Luther Burden in redraft just because they have so many pieces in Chicago. And our final pick, Nick Chubb went. We just got absolutely sniped. We should have taken him, but it is what it is. After Trey Harris, J.K. Dobbins, Tucker Kraft Mac and Cheese, Jake Ferguson, Kyle Monjane, Dalton Kincaid, Dallas Goddard, Marshawn Lloyd, Denver Broncos, Kyler Murray, Mike Licky, Amagasiki, Drizzy Drake May. It's actually Drizzy Drake London, so Drake May from the 6 doesn't get a shout out for that. Emeka Mbuka, Roshan Johnson, Keenan Allen, Jaden Blue, Jaden Higgins, Jalen Wright, Jaleel McLaughlin, 9-inch Nicholas Chubb, the Eagles, the Ravens, and Caleb Williams. So we are going to go running back here. Even though this isn't the best running back spot, I've read some positive things about Kendre Miller. Seems like the last coaching staff really hated him. Like, I don't know if anyone remembers that stuff. And again, this is what it even says it right here, but I was going to say that anyways. Dude, the last coaching staff fucking hated this guy. Hated him. But Devin Neal could become the RB2, but I do think if we were to end up seeing Alvin Kamara go down, I think the running back 2 there with the quarterback situation, where I think we're going to be seeing a lot of dump offs, it could just be a really good pick. So after Kendre Miller, now we're just going to go with a kicker and defense. First, we're just going to take the best kicker available because, I think you can get the defense later. Again, for defenses, if you guys are new, you ought to be taking a defense going up against a not-so-hot offense in week 1. It doesn't really matter how good you believe the defense actually is. It's really just all about the matchup, and then every single week I make a video on which defense to stream. There'll be a video in August, which defenses to draft, and then right before week 1, there's going to be a video which defenses to stream. If you didn't pay attention and you're drafted a defense, you're like, holy shit, my defense is going against the Chiefs or the Bills or someone that you're scared of, then you don't have to worry. So 2025, game 1, the Packers, they go up against the Lions. That would be a big no-no. Hey, don't touch me there. That is my no-no square. Seattle going up against the 49ers. No bueno, as they say. Rams going up against Houston. I think that's a fine matchup, so we will go with that. So looking at our team, it is heated. We got Big Cock Brock Purdy, Ashton Genty, Devon Achane, Rashi Rice, Mike Evans, Janu Smith, O'Marion Hampton. The LA Rams and Brandon Aubrey. Our bench consists of Calvin Ridley, Jordan Addison, Travis Hunter, Rashad White, Trey Harris, and Kendre Miller. Let me know down below in the comments what you thought about this team. Do you love it? Do you hate it? Did I reach on this player? Did I miss on a guy that you were just sitting there screaming, Nick, please take this guy? And then I didn't take him, and then you're sitting there all sad. I hope you guys did enjoy. Check out one of the videos on your screen if you haven't seen them already. Happy Saturday. Hope you guys have a great weekend, or have a great weekend. I love you guys so much. Be back on Monday with another video. As always, good boy.